Hello, everybody. It's your girl Carla. Welcome back to the chaos. Wow, it's been a minute. And make sure to get your drink, your tea, your coffee, your matcha, whatever, and let's get started. So today's video is going to be about social media gunk. I know it's been like a big struggle for me to get off of social media so I can do the things I want, and I found a couple of different kind of solutions along the way. So they've been helping me. I hope this video is helpful for you. Let me know down below if there's something else you'd like to know more about. But let's get started. Okay, so for a while now, I've been trying to make videos. And for the year of 2025, I've just been stuck in a really bad mindset. And I couldn't get out of it. I don't know why. I was like really easily distracted. And then I realized who my number one enemy was towards that. Yeah, it was my freaking phone. I have been addicted to social media for a while now. I don't know if I would use the word addicted, but I'm the queen of doom scrolling. TikTok definitely has like overwhelmed my time, my energy. I feel like it's really hard to focus on certain things and goals and aspirations. And at first I thought it was just me, that I'm just crazy. Like, I know we all doom scroll, but I didn't realize how bad it was until I started getting content about doom scrolling. So that's how I knew it was bad. Some of the inspirations that I've watched recently that kind of sparked this video idea was Eddie Burback recently had a video that was called "I Hate My Phone, So I Got Rid of It." And then my favorite one is Digging the Greats has a iPod series in which he removed his phone and started trying to listen to music through an iPod, and that literally changed his whole life. So I highly recommend to look at those videos if you have the time and you'd like to see kind of like people experimenting on removing their phones out of their life. But I noticed that there was a big issue when it came to leaving social media. I myself was detoxing off of social media for a couple months, and I felt so much better. But I feel like we all eventually kind of fall back onto like old patterns. So while I was on social media, I had TikTok, Instagram, Facebook on my phone. I noticed that if I removed one app, I would then start doom scrolling in another app. So if I was using TikTok and I removed TikTok, then I would start doom scrolling on Instagram. And then if I removed Instagram, I would doom scroll on Facebook. So the habit is kind of there. I couldn't stop it. So watching those videos of people like stop using their phones, I noticed that what can we actually do to not rely on the dopamine for our phones permanently? Like, how can you actually make that shift? And that's where today's video comes around. Okay, so part of what I had learned and what I started to realize was that Diggins the Great's video focuses a lot on algorithm and how certain companies are able to use algorithm to put certain content in front of our faces. We're not making art, we're making content for music content or video content, etc. I think the concept that I couldn't stop thinking about is the fact that if I'm doom scrolling, which at one point I was doom scrolling 10 to 12 hours per day, I hadn't realized just how bad the algorithm was making money out of my time instead of me having control over my time. And I started to see it everywhere. I had a TV in my bedroom and in my living room. My TVs have ads. Social media, my Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, they all have ads. My paid accounts, such as Hulu and HBO, have ads, and Netflix. And so the more and more I doom scrolled, even when I was trying to stop doom scrolling, when you cross reference to a different sort of account, they continue to cross promote each other. So it felt like I was digging myself deeper into a hole, even though I was trying to get out, kind of like quicksand. And it really had me thinking, how have I allowed for doom scrolling to take away my time when I should be doing things for myself during my own time, right? Why am I spending 12 hours scrolling through TikTok instead of using 12 hours to do something I want to do? And it had me focused on, I'll put the link below, but basically there's this article from momentusinstitute.org in which they talk about the effects of dopamine and kind of like the dopamine kicks on our brain. So basically, when social media provides additional layers of dopamine, such as like comments, messages, etc., and like for us it's like this, just like this constant scrolling, all those tiny doses of dopamine, the brain senses that there's an abundance and there's no balance of you did effort to get that dopamine reward. So because there's an excess of dopamine, then your brain stops production of your own personal dopamine, expecting you to continue to get social media dopamine, which means the feeling of trying to leave social media completely messes with you, and your brain will force you to go back to it. So as much as you try to leave it, you no longer produce your own dopamine. You need to go get that dopamine hit from elsewhere. And again, how do I make sure that I'm producing my own dopamine and that I have control over my own time and I'm not being controlled by social media by doom scrolling? So this is kind of some of the things that I've discovered through books. During my period of time where I was not doom scrolling, I started rereading and finding solutions regarding to like, I don't want to say consumerism, but more like how we're promoted things. Okay, so while looking for solutions, this is some of the references that I came upon. Reference one is this book right here called Brujas, The Magic and Power of Witches of Color. This book has it's kind of like a spiritual and psychological book, but there's a chapter specifically that's called Joy as Resistance. Me trying to be intentional about getting my time back because I want to have my time and not doom scroll so I can do things that bring me authentic joy, to live a better lifestyle, right? But obviously whatever I'm doing right now is not working because every time I stop social media, doom scrolling, I continue to fall back onto the loop and re-download these apps, and I continue to do all that. So this book is a really good reference when you want to kind of have a better understanding of where does joy come from. Is it joyful to spend time with friends, spend time with family? And the points that this book kind of brought up for me was, there's a quote regarding recognizing that joy/pleasure is a measure of freedom. And if you don't have time to experience things that bring you joy, you are not free. You are part of the system. This is by a book from Adrienne Marie Brown called Pleasure Activism. So I will actually be looking forward to that may be one of my next books that I kind of follow. But this chapter talks about how our joy is an act of resistance to a structure that continues to force us to buy more things and just like be promoted to spend more instead of doing things for joy and not for capitalism. Dopamine brings you joy that takes away time needed to make money to spend on dopamine. So instead of being us being able to produce our own dopamine, they're selling us dopamine through all these ads and all these apps. And I think that just kind of put into perspective again that I don't own my time. So what can I actively do so I can produce my own dopamine instead of continuing to go on my phone for dopamine? The next book that I have is, or the second reference is The Bullet Journal Method. This one was a book that was on my shelf for a very long time, which was actually, funny enough, I feel like these two books definitely kind of correlated in a lot of different parts. So I relate goals as to having goals that bring you joy. I realized a lot over time, a lot of my goals were to buy things, buy a house, buy a car, buy more clothing, buy. And the reason why I had those goals is because, again, I was getting dopamine kicks every time you see an ad and you click and you go and buy and spend more money. But throughout these social media realizations, I've kind of come to the conclusion that I want to buy less and actually spend more time doing some sort of smaller projects for joy exploration or experimentation, because those are the ones that will create self-fulfillment and autonomy, and they will actually bring you joy. If you're doing self-development, that will increase your dopamine. And if you're not actively doing something like that, then it's being sold to you. And an example of that, when was the last time in which you did something that was just for self-satisfaction? It wasn't to please anybody, it wasn't to purchase anything, but literally just because it brought you joy. I think I spent more time, again, just scrolling and sending things to friends than actually talking to my friends. If you want to be able to do these self-satisfying projects, then you need time. You need time to get to know yourself. You need time to explore. And those are things that we recently don't have because we spend all time being promoted things to buy in all these different platforms. My conclusion out of like this whole complex topic is I want to learn and I want to do intentional activities that I don't have to pay for and that they're not being sold to me. So usually in this book right here, the Brujas talks a lot about community, and I know that we don't have that many third spaces, so spaces that are free for communities to be built. For example, when I was younger and I was in college, we would reserve like library rooms and order pizza and at no cost have a space to spend with friends or peers. But now I literally cannot think of if you want to go to a coffee shop, if you want to go, I don't know, to a restaurant or like spend time with anybody, a bar, you're gonna have to spend money to see people. Which is why slowly, like, those places are, like, running out of business. I know of a lot of bars and no longer, like, a younger generation doesn't go to clubs anymore either. And I'm also wanting to look at my environment and seeing what is it they're selling me today that's not normal a couple years ago. So what are things that are in my environment? I didn't grow up with a TV in my bedroom. I bought one. I put one in there and I removed it. So I'm like, how can I clean up my space of being promoted dopamine rushes? So I'll continue to doom scroll. On my next video, I'm basically going to show how that experiment goes. So the experiment is going to be based on book 3. I read this book in Spanish during COVID. I might reread it, but it's called The Plan of Joy. How to take 30 days to stop complaining, stop worrying, and feel absolute joy. And so this book focuses on experiencing joy through your senses, grateful practices, things like that. So every day, seeing something that brings you joy, tasting something that brings you joy, hearing something, making something. So let's see how this turns out on the next video. Let me know in the comments, if you weren't doom scrolling, what would you do with your time? Have a good one, guys. See you on the next one.